Hello fellow rock tumblers. I think this will be a fun and informative video. What you see before you: Brazil agate, Polychrome jasper, Chevron amethysts, and Mozambique agate. So I have 3 examples of each. What I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to get all of these tumbling like I normally do. They're all going to go into the 60-90 grit for several weeks until they get nicely rounded and smooth, all the flaws removed. And then I will start the normal 8-day, 4-stage polishing cycle that I use in the vibratory tumbler. They'll go through the 220 grit silicon carbide, the 600 grit silicon carbide, the 1500 grit silicon carbide. But at that point, I'm going to stop and separate them like you see here. One row, and one example of each type, will go to aluminum oxide polish. One row will go to cerium oxide polish, and one row will go to tin oxide polish. That way, when it's all said and done, we'll be able to see with very similar rocks what difference it makes using those different types of final polish. I think it should be very interesting. I'm curious myself. I have no idea how this will turn out. So stick around and let's see how it works. Our rocks are finally finished with the coarse stage. Thank goodness, right? They're ready to move on so we can begin this polishing experiment. I'll go ahead and get these started in the vibratory tumbler and go through the first 3 stages like I described, and then we'll check them out again at that point. We'll take a closer look before we start this final polish experiment. Okay, the rocks are finished with the 1500 grit. They went through the 220, then the 600, then the 1500, which means these surfaces are ready for the final polish. What I'm going to do now is take this bottom row and run it through the aluminum oxide polish, take this middle row, run it through the cerium oxide polish, and take this top row and run it through the tin oxide polish. When it's all done, we'll compare them. We'll see if there's really a difference. Here you see the rocks after 2 days in the vibratory tumbler with the aluminum oxide. I get all my grits from Kingsley North, and I believe the aluminum oxide that I use is the 1 micron that sells for, I think it's around $7 a pound. And here you can see the stones in the cerium oxide. This, I believe, sells for around, I think, $17 a pound, if memory serves. Anyway, so the cerium oxide is definitely a little more expensive than the aluminum oxide. And now you can see the rocks in the tin oxide polish. This one, I believe, was around $25 a pound. It's definitely the most expensive of the 3 polishes. I also want to point out that I kept reusing the other rocks in this batch over and over again, to keep the load the same in the tumbler. So these other rocks have been polished now 3 different times. Well, we're finished with this polishing experiment. Right off the top of the bat, I cannot say for sure that I can see much of a difference just looking at them here on this table under this light. They all have a nice shine. What I'm going to do is compare them individually, and we'll take a closer look. I'm going to try to come up with a way to make this a little more objective, and we'll see if with that we can see perhaps a slight change in the shine between the different polishes. Let's begin with the Brazil agates. Can you see a difference between the aluminum oxide, the cerium oxide, or the tin oxide? I don't see anything obvious, but I have a way of checking the reflection. What I have with me, let me show you. These are what are called line pair phantoms. You see there are these very fine cuts in this piece of lead. We use this in the X-ray industry to determine the resolution of a system. What I thought I would try is to see what the reflection looks like and if maybe we can judge that. Let's see. So when we look at this one, for example, can we really make out that fine, I think it's the 6 there, this one right here. That's the finest one, 6 line pair per centimeter. Can we make out in this reflection with the light just right, can we see? Yeah, it looks like we can see that. Okay, that's the aluminum oxide polish on a Brazil agate. How's it look with the cerium oxide? Let's see, does it look better, worse, what? Let's find a good spot to reflect here. There we go. What do you think? It looks pretty clear to me. I can see that. I believe I'm able to see that delineation between those fine slits. Maybe even a little bit better. I'll let you be the judge. Okay, so that's the cerium oxide polish. Let's look at the tin oxide polish on this Brazil agate. Let's find a good spot to reflect here. This is tricky to hold this the way I want to. That's not very good. Let's see. Oh, there we go. How does that look? How does that reflection look? Are you able to make that out any better? That even looks clearer to me. I gotta say, with this little test, the tin oxide seems to have the best reflection. But again, you be your own judge, but just to my eye, looking through this phone, I think that one's a little bit sharper. Okay, let's go back to the cerium oxide. Yeah, that cerium looks pretty good too. So we're looking again for that delineation between those fine lines there. And once again, the aluminum oxide. Let's see that one. I know it's not a fair comparison. These rocks are different colors. That actually looks really good too. They all look pretty darn good, and I think I can see the reflection in each one of them, just as clear as can be. Well, that's a pretty good reflection. Geez, now I'm thinking the aluminum oxide might be the best. I don't know. I thought it was the tin oxide. I can't decide. Okay, now let's look at the polychrome jasper. Here's the aluminum oxide. Looks pretty good. Cerium oxide. Also looks pretty good. And finally, the tin oxide. I gotta say, I think the tin oxide looks the best of these three, with the naked eye. Let's try that reflection test again. Okay, so here's the reflection, looking for that 6 again. Don't really have a good angle here. Okay, there we go. Clearly not as smooth as the Brazil agate. See some more distortion in there. Not bad. Now let's check the cerium oxide. Oh, I think that just comes off much brighter. What do you think? I think it's a brighter polish and sharper, I think. And finally, the tin oxide. I'm trying to compare apples to apples here. It's very difficult, but there's the resolution part. Looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks, It's between the tin and the cerium, in my opinion. What do you think? Okay, now let's check out the Chevron amethyst. This is the aluminum oxide. Oh, it looks pretty good. The cerium oxide. Yeah, not a bad shine. And finally, the tin oxide. Well, I gotta say, again, the tin oxide seems to have better eye appeal, just with the naked eye. That's what I'm seeing. Let's try that reflection. Okay, let's see if we can get this to reflect. Let's see, there we go. Ooh, this is going to be tricky. This may not work with this. There, you can see it in there, but it's difficult to make it out with all the different structures within this amethyst. But you can sort of see through there. That's the aluminum oxide. Let's check the cerium. You can see if it's any better. Yeah, it's the same sort of deal. It's tough to use this reflection test with this amethyst. All right, let's try the tin oxide. Well, that came right up. Can we see the lines in there on the 6? I think in this case, the tin oxide does the best job with the amethyst. Of the three we've looked at so far, the three different stones, I think the amethyst shows the greatest distinction in the polishing. What do you think? And finally, we'll look at this Mozambique agate. And once again, with just the naked eye, it's hard to really see much of a difference. They all look really good. Let's try that reflection test. Okay, once again, we're looking for that reflection. There's the 6 line pair. Are you able to make out those lines there? I think I can see them pretty clearly. So that's the aluminum oxide. Aluminum oxide. This is a beautiful stone, by the way. I like the way this one turned out. Here's the cerium oxide. How does that one look? Okay, I can see it. Yeah, there we go. Oh yeah, see, you can clearly see the individual lines within that 6 line pair. So that's a good reflection. Now for the tin oxide. Oh, sure. No problem. Look at the other side here. It's a little bit easier when it's a darker finish on the stone. Oh yeah, that looks fine to me. What do you think? I would say with the Mozambique, the cerium and the tin look a little bit better than the aluminum, but that's just my opinion. You can decide for yourself. So there you have it. That is our little polish experiment. I guess if I had to pick one, I would say that the tin oxide does the best job overall, but it's so close. You're gonna get a good shine with any of these. You might as well save some money and stick with the aluminum oxide. Maybe if it's something critical, you're in a contest or something like that, you might wanna go with the tin oxide or the cerium. But as you can see from my little reflection test, they're all really good at polishing a rock. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. Be sure and check my other videos for more like this.